This meeting is being held remotely in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts, March 28, 25, order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 38, Section 20, allowing remote and hybrid meeting options for public bodies through June 30th, 2027. This meeting is being recorded. We should make the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, please.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States
of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with
with
liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So the first order of business, first agenda item is reorganization of the CPC leadership. We need to nominate and vote for a chair and a vice chair. Are there any nominations?
Sure, I'll nominate Deb for chair and Betty for vice chair. John Bell.
I second that.
I also, okay.
Is that what you want to do, Deborah?
No, I would like to be vice chair until I feel that I've reached enough learning from my chair to take that on. I don't feel I have the requisite experience to take the chair at this time. I would be happy to take vice chair.
Okay, I will amend my motion to Betty chair and Deb vice chair. John Bell.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a first and a second. Is there any discussion of this? Okay, all those in favor, I will have to go through the list. I'm writing it down now. So Deborah?
I will, I agree that Betty, you should be chair, but I don't think I'm allowed to vote for myself, am I?
Yes, you are.
Okay, then I accept and I say aye.
Okay, so Deborah Cholfi, aye. We say our names and then we say aye. Okay, Dale?
Dale Weber, aye.
John?
John Bell, aye.
Mark?
Mark Schmidt, aye.
Hugh? Hugh? Is Hugh here? Did he make it?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Hugh Morton, aye.
Tim is gone. Okay. Tim Caton.
Tim Caton, aye.
Okay. Betty Slade, aye. That's unanimous. So I will remain chair until next June or earlier. And Deborah Cholfi will be vice chair. Thank you very much for your support. The second item is the appointment of liaisons and reports by liaisons. That's second and third. Tim Gillespie is not here. Tim is having an ablation at the hospital today. Heart. He thinks he'll be fine afterwards, but he decided not to come to the meeting.
In that case, I nominate Tim to be liaison for all projects.
Tim has announced that he is going to resign the Recreation Commission and the CPC next June. And he asked that you not be appointed as liaison for any projects. So we will not have a report on the town hall annex. Dana Stewart was out of town too, so we ended up not doing it. This is an old project, FY15, with a very little bit of money left, and they just keep adding on new things and which fit within the category. So we'll just leave it as it is. The second FY17 Town Records Phase 4, that is also a project that continues on when we find things that we need to support, then we do them. This was based on a long-term project. The third, the Town Hall Annex rear, it's the same situation. Very little money left, but they've asked us to hold it for some projects that they're still doing. Gravestone repair is ongoing. That was originally $55,000. As many of you have heard and read, we've now cleaned over 15,000 stones and repaired over 1,000 stones. And all that work is being done by volunteers. And the D2 biological solution is being donated by Ted Kennery, the president of that company. Town Hall restoration, Mark?
Yes, so I can report that, that the CPC awarded $265,000 and for the whole project. And as of this date, well, that was broken down between $115,000 for exterior painting and $150,000 for electrical work. At this moment, they only spent on the painting $8,700 or $88,783, which essentially repainted and repaired the main entrances, the various entrances in and out of the building. But the bids for the whole building to repaint all the trim on, including the cupola for the whole building, were, I believe, it was like $300,000. So Jim Hartnett told me today that they put that on hold. They're not going to do that project for the moment. So they've only spent $8,700 out of the $115,000 that was allotted. And on the electrical, $150,000 was allotted, and they have the select board has signed a contract with a company called B2Q to it's a design build project to provide a new electric service to the building, new electric panels inside the building, and wiring inside the building. And so I was just looking on my phone to try to get you the number on that contract, but I think it's safe to say they're going to spend all of the 150 from CPC.
Yeah, CPA funding, yes.
So CPA, yeah.
Quite a large grant, which was discussed at a Board of Select meeting. So this is a portion of that, but they've got a very large grant to do a great deal of work within the town hall. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
We'll skip the Sanford School and go on to the Town Farm. That's still Garrett Stuck's project. He's chair of the Historical Commission. And for some reason, I think the main reason is that Geraldine Millam on the own worked on this for a very long time on the town farm. And then her husband, Tony, took it over after she died. And Garrett has taken over sort of Geraldine's role in doing this all on kind of volunteer basis. So as it stands right now, most of those funds were expended, and Garrett and I will be meeting with Jim Hartnett about the town farm next week. The playgrounds, as you know, the playground actually, I believe, is now complete, the playground. So that really is a complete project. The cemetery website, I've met with the representatives of the Kim Sites, which is won the bid to do the website. And again, we'll meet with Jim Hartnett about that. It seems like the administrative part of it is working pretty well, but the part that we're interested in is not working as well. So we'll have to see what's going to happen with that. Now we come to the new projects. And I just wanted to say that projects which are private in nature, not a town project, must have grant agreements. So I've drawn up grant agreements for all 5 of the private projects. If you notice, this year, 5 of the 6 projects are private. They've all been acceptable to the project managers and their teams, except for the one for the biking path. And the reason that is that they have a contracts lawyer on their the people working with them, and he said it was too complicated. It wasn't necessary for such a simple project. So I said, well, that's why I sent it to you. Tell me what you think should be in there, and then we will review it. So I'm waiting for those, and that's the reason I did not bring them to the CPC tonight. I will bring them in a future meeting. See, after the project managers and I look at these, they go to the town administrator, and the town administrator says, okay, the town accepts this or not, makes the necessary changes. So it's back and forth. And now this year we have 5, so it's a lot. So we need to appoint project liaisons, CPC liaisons. And I've heard from some people who say that they're interested in doing these projects. And I will tell you who contacted me. For the senior league, Hugh is willing. Hugh has been the liaison for WYAA throughout its whole, the last 15 years, I think. And for the biking and walking path, Dale has volunteered. For the Grange, Tim Caton has volunteered. For Howland Hall, Mark Schmidt, which makes sense because he's an architect. And I volunteer for the Affordable Housing Trust after being turned down by one of the members to do that. But we do have a problem that the new town Bicentennial Park needs a liaison because Tim does not want to do it. And I'm wondering if anybody is interested in doing that. You'd be basically, for this year until next June at least, you would be working with Tim Gillespie and Dana Stewart in the Recreation Commission, and working with them is very good. They know what they should do and they do it correctly. So it isn't a really hard job. So is anyone interested in taking that on?
Betty, Tim Caton, if nobody's interested, maybe I'll do it.
Do you have time?
Well, what kind of time is it going to entail?
Well, okay. Okay with me. Okay, Tim, thank you. Okay, are there any questions? Somebody's got their hand up and I don't know who it is. I can't see.
It's me. It's Deborah. I just wanted to know what was involved in the CPC liaison, and I think might be good for me to shadow someone on one of these projects so I can understand better. Betty, I can either shadow you on the Affordable Housing Trust, or I'd be happy to shadow the one that was just assigned to the Tim Gillespie project, Bicentennial Park. So if you could put me in as a second, I would like to just follow it.
All right. Okay, I'll put you in the Affordable Housing Trust.
Okay.
That's something you're interested in, I know, and have experience in. Okay, Are there any other questions? Anything? Okay, we'll move on to the, okay, number 4. Oh, Tim? you
Yes,
raised-
yes. Betty, question I have, being my first time doing the liaisons. Would there be some sort of a meeting to start it off where I'd be meeting the project manager and get a folder on the whole project, and so I can keep up to date on it and be able to communicate properly and report properly?
Yes. At the end, I have on item number 8 to form a committee to review existing project proposal forms for CPA projects.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping in that we will set out what liaisons should do.
Okay,
Of course, the first thing for you to do is get to know the people involved. And we do know the project managers so far, so that's the first thing, but we will give you information. You also have on the town website, the CPC webpage, we do have information about that. Your project is it's considered a private project, but it is 150,000, so it will have to have an RFP, and that is the main thing is the RFP, and that you be available when the RFP bids are opened. Okay,
Yeah.
that we have the liaison there, and that when they come up with a project, when you come up with all of that, you keep aware of what's going on that. Okay.
Mhm.
When they do contracts, you need to be aware of that too. So anyway, we'll
Okay.
put that all in. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so number 4, review the public housing notice 2013-14 on utilization of CPA funds for existing housing units. The Housing Authority has a representative on CPC, and that's Tim Caton, and he's chair of the Housing Authority. And then we have the Affordable Housing Trust, which is chaired by Craig Dutra. Okay, so we've worked all the time with the Affordable Housing Trust, and we have not, since in many years, worked at all with the Housing Authority, because we were told early on that CPA funds basically could not be used for the Housing Authority. And we had 2 projects in earlier years, which basically turned out to be illegal. And so, but I've always wondered why they have the Housing Authority representative on CPC if we don't do anything with them. And I researched it and found this document, and it was in the Community Preservation Coalition website. And it basically explains what you can do and what you cannot do. So basically, it's clear that there are things that we can do for preservation. You notice the terminology they use, preservation versus rehabilitation. There's that chart, which is on the website also, which explains that to some extent, but not enough. But this article, this paper does. So on, I think it's next week or a week after that, I'm meeting as a representative of the CPC, who's the project manager of this, as not project manager, but liaison, with Tim Caton and Craig Dutra. And we are going to discuss cooperation between the Affordable Housing Trust and the Housing Authority, Housing Authority's public housing, and see what kind of cooperation can be done, because the Affordable Housing Trust has a lot of, it has a housing officer, it has a staff, etc. which could be of help to the Housing Authority, which does not have those things that I know about. So I just was informing you that there might be a project in the future from the Housing Authority for Greenwood Terrace, basically. There might be other things that we can do in Greenwood Terrace that Tim has mentioned. So that's just to give you a heads up that this is a new area that we haven't worked with before. Does anybody have any questions or? And we will report to you about this, but if you just look at it, it's basically preservation activities, and they're the normal things, to preserve the building, to preserve the electricity, that kind of thing. What we did before was things like fixing the stoves, stuff that or replacing stoves or things like that, which were not allowed. Okay,
If I may, Betty, I just say, I read some of it. I thought the distinctions were excruciating between what was and was not permitted for this and that. So I wish you well in trying to sort it out. There's also a competition for the affordable housing group as opposed to the existing housing group. So that'd be interesting to see how that works out.
okay. So will we, Hugh. And if you, Deborah, maybe you can accompany us to that meeting if you're around. John Bell?
Yeah, Betty, just to clarify again, but that fund, that would come out of the affordable housing part of the CPC, correct?
What we call community housing.
Yes, okay.
Correct.
Betty, when's the meeting?
The 18th. It's the third Wednesday of the month.
Yeah,
10
10
a.m.
o'clock, 10 a.m. On the 18th at 666 State Road. It's the housing, it's the community room.
Mhm.
We can talk about it further, maybe go together if you're down this way. I'm going to skip number 5 because we're waiting for Paul Schmidt's plane to land.
Paul Schmidt's on.
Oh, he came on.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome, Paul. Paul, can you hear us? Paul?
I got a text message from him saying he was on the meeting. And also I see that the others have gone from 2 to 3. So I see that Paul Schmidt is on this meeting. Now, whether
Yes, I need to hear his voice.
I know.
I think you can hear, I hope you can hear my voice, Madam
Yes, we
Chair.
hear it now.
Yes.
Thank you, Paul. This is beyond the call of duty, getting off the plane and sitting there with his computer. It's item number 5, a review of a request from the American Legion Commander and the FY24 American Legion Project Manager now to approve $35,000 invoice for paving parking lot from FY24 existing project financing. The reason this is coming to us at CPC is that specifically the paving was not part of the original grant. The original grant was basically for the purposes of handicapped accessibility and improving the outside of the building and making the area more handicapped accessible in general. So when the bill came, I felt I could not pay it. We could not pay it because we had not been notified this was going to be happening. And so it came as sort of a surprise. And so our decision was to think about, for CPC to think about whether or not this project fits into handicapped accessibility. Does the improvement of the lot of parking, which goes right up to the building. Does that help handicapped accessibility? And do we feel comfortable as CPC doing this project? So Paul wanted to, you saw the letter, and Paul wanted to speak to this. John, do you wish to speak before Paul?
Well, yeah, I'm the liaison for that project, and I'm looking at the application that was sent to us, and it does specify to make the lower entrance ADA compliant, accessible, with surface grading, new door, and cement walkway. So it is. You could say paving it would be surface grading and making it handicap accessible.
Hugh, you want to speak before Paul?
No, I'll wait and see. That's okay.
Paul, could we hear from you, please? By the
Yeah,
way,
Matt.
Molly Kay is the new treasurer of, I don't know if he's new, but he's the treasurer of the American Legion, and Paul is the new commander, and they took over in January, but they're just recently taking over the total project now. Okay, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And indeed, Maury is on with us, and I really appreciate his work as finance officer for the American Legion. I just want to thank you for considering this amount. We recognize that it was not specifically identified in the original document, and that you are working with us on this. I think we can say that we will be much more accessible by handicapped as a result of having a firm, even surface to work on. We also, at your suggestion, are working to complete the handicap bathroom, the handicapped accessible bathroom. And we will expect to come before you later this year with a request to make the second floor handicapped accessible. So that's where we are, and we really appreciate your consideration.
Hugh?
All I wanted to add was, whatever Paul was saying, that for people who are somewhat mobility impaired, there's a great big difference between a solid level surface and something that has bumps and slides, because feet don't go up all that high, so people tend to catch their feet. In other words, in handicap accessibility, it seems pretty minor. It's bigger than it appears to be.
Any other comments? Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
I'll second it, John Doe.
Okay.
Dale, did you? No, okay. Dale? I can't hear you, Dale.
Sorry. I did have a question because, I read this, but I haven't been involved in it. And I just want to know, am I too late to do that now that we've moved on with motions?
No, it's fine.
Oh, okay. I guess my question is about process. And I apologize if everybody else understands this. But I always assumed, and perhaps I was incorrect, that when we approved money for certain things, that's what was to be done, unless the applying groups came back before us to request a change in how the money is spent. And when I read through, and I just read it a little bit before this meeting, so I may be missing stuff. It seemed to me that perhaps this was not a part of the original agreement between us, and that therefore, not to say that the bill shouldn't be paid, because people worked in good faith to do this job, but is there some way that perhaps this needs to be made clearer to liaisons as well as people who are applying about a process that needs to happen so that misunderstandings of this sort, if this is a misunderstanding, don't occur again. I've not been a member that long, but I've never heard of this happening before in my time on the CPC. So I don't know if that's making any sense, but if it is and somebody can answer me, that would be great.
Thank you, Dale. John is the
Dale,
liaison for this
Prior
project.
to this, the communication was lacking from the American Legion. It has gotten better. But again, looking at this, maybe we didn't think that paving it was part of it, how we thought of it, but handicap accessible and surface grading was something that they were thinking of. But yeah, the communication has gotten better.
Yes, Paul.
Yeah, Dale, the Legion takes full responsibility for a possible lack of communication, and we won't let that happen again.
Is there something that we need to do as a committee to make it clear to applicants, or clearer perhaps to applicants, and to remind, I mean, I'm signing on to be in a liaison. That's not, I've only been a liaison to a couple of other projects in my time on the committee. And when I was hearing the question, I'm thinking, wow, I would like to have some stuff in front of me that specifically helps me to do a good job. And is there something along the lines of this type of situation that could be included?
So that is exactly why I have added in 8. Form a committee to review the existing project proposal. It will specify more clearly and on the documentation that people receive that what they have to do. We do grant agreement. This is again a little complex situation because when we deal with private projects, we do have grant agreements and it states clearly what has to be done. This was the previous projects with the American Legion were private, but in this one, it's a different town administrator, and he established this was a town organization, and therefore there was no grant agreement, and they had to do prevailing wages. But since then, we've come to an agreement that it is actually private. And the reason we did is years ago, I contacted the state and asked them specifically about the American Legion. The reason is if they are the leasers of this property, it's not town property, it's town property, but the agreement is with the leasehorse. So they are private, just like WYAA. It's town property, but they're private. That's what the state told me. And it also is helpful that they don't have to do prevailing wages. It saves quite a bit of money for, projects like this, which are for the benefit of the public. So we will, Dale, rectify this. This was complicated. 2 of the parts of the project have not been done, and that's the lift, and wasn't put in, although they had a lift, and the bathroom was not made accessible, but the American Legion plans to do that. And we will be in touch with them and what other kind of funding they may need in the future. But we will do something about the fact that there was this mix-up. As you said, I'm not aware of it happening before.
Well, I thank you very much. That helps. The explanation helps. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. Deborah, would you please vote?
Deborah Chialfi, aye.
Dale,
Dale Weber, aye.
John,
John Bell, aye.
Mark? Mark? Can't hear you, Mark.
Yeah, okay, now we're going. Okay, yeah, Betty, I think to avoid any appearance of a conflict of interest, I'm going to abstain from voting. So Mark Schmidt, abstain.
Oh, yes. Hugh? Hugh? Can't hear you.
Hugh Morton, aye.
Tim?
Tim Caton, aye.
Betty Slade, aye. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. The check will be ready tomorrow. Yes, Paul.
Madam Chair and committee, just want to thank you for supporting the Legion on this, and we look forward to being in touch with John Bell as the plans for the handicapped accessible bathroom proceed. But thank you.
so much. And thank you, both of you, you and Mari, for reaching out.
Yeah, now Paul, stay on because we're also on item number 6 on the agenda.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Are you going to, Mari, are you going to present?
I can present on that. First of all, we've had Paul
Just 1
Hebert.
second, please, Mari. Maria, do you have something?
Just quickly, I'm going to notify Nicole and Joanne
Okay,
that the committee has approved the payment. The check will be ready sometime tomorrow. Should I contact Jim Daniel
yes,
and let him know he can come pick it up?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Maria.
No problem.
Okay, sorry, Mari.
Okay, so we do have these 2 ADA compliant projects that we have committed to completing. And the first one has to do with the ADA compliant bathroom. Right now, we have 2 small bathrooms, and neither are big enough to have a wheelchair come in and turn around. So by tearing down the wall and getting rid of 1 toilet and maybe 1 urinal, we will have enough room for 1 toilet and 1 handicap accessible sink. And we had Paul Hebert come on May 27th to design it for us, and he's given us a design, but he really hasn't given us a cost estimate yet. 3 years ago, he gave us a cost estimate of $21,000. But after Paul and I, looked at it, discussed the way the piping was, I was worried we're going to have to jackhammer into the cement slab to get the piping in. But no, it's piping on the between the false ceiling and the real ceiling. And then in the bathroom, it's on the walls. So it's very accessible to plumbers. So I'm hoping when he does come with a cost estimate, it will be below 21,000 and that it will be within like the 16,000 range, which is the balance of the money we still have available from the original $180,000 CPC grant. And so that project is underway. The second one has to do with making the second floor ADA compliant. And there are 3 ways to do it: a ramp, a vertical lift, and a chair lift. And we have decided we're not interested in the ramp. First of all, it's $40,000. It's extremely expensive. But also, this is a beautiful old historic building, and it really makes the front ugly. And so we really don't want a ramp. So that leaves the vertical lift and the chair lift. And I'm looking at a chair lift at this point because the new stairs, you was in one of those pictures that flashed by, the new stairs that came down from the second floor to the ground level is wide enough. Yeah, it's this picture in the upper left. In the center of that upper left picture is a wide stairway, which was designed wide enough to have a chairlift in there. So on June 30th, we have a salesman from a chairlift company that is a Massachusetts company out of Lakeville, and it's a commercial company because a lot of chairlift companies out there are not necessarily commercial and are not registered in the state and are not for outside. That's the other thing. So I think I have an appropriate person coming, and that will be on June 30th. So the bottom line financially, and I'm the finance guy, so I just want to talk money. I think we've got the bathroom covered, but I don't think we have the chairlift covered. Maybe with a little luck, we do, with the remaining 15 to 16,000. But we might have to come back to you for a little bit more for that chairlift if we don't have the money left. I just wanted to give you a little heads up that we could maybe get the money from state ADA funds, but they have to be filed by June 15th or 16th every year, and we're not making that deadline. So if we don't make this deadline, it would be next year, and it would be late 2026 that we would get the chairlift in. However, if we go through CPC, we could do it a lot more quickly than that. That's the end of my report.
Yes, I talked with Paul about this, the second floor and I wanted to tell the CPC what he found out, unless he wants to talk. Paul, do you want to tell us what you found out when you called the Architectural Access Board? Paul?
Yes, I'm here, Betty.
Yes, when you called see if I'm correct, when you called the Architectural Access Board, they pretty firmly told you you have to have access to the second floor in a public building. Is that right?
That's correct. I guess it's any building, actually, public or private, where your renovations have exceeded 30% of the assessed value of the building. You are required to bring it up to code. We did exceed 30% of the assessed value, and so we must provide access to the second floor.
I think that's important for us to know in CPC when we get rehabilitation projects. The Howland Hall, for example, a large portion of the cost is for the accessibility to the second floor, upper floors, I should say, as well as the bathroom. So in CPA projects, rehabilitation for accessibility required, that we should remember that. Okay, any questions to Maury or Paul? Thank you very much, Maury and Paul. Have
Okay.
a good time in your trip,
Maury,
Paul.
Maury, before you go, what time June 30th is that?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you have a time of that meeting on June 30th?
I do.
So keep John informed, guys.
Yes. It's he's coming between 9:30 and 10 a.m. He's Dave Austin of Lift and Care Systems of Lakeville.
All right.
Between
you.
9:30 and 10. I'm going to be there at 9:30.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Tim, Caton?
Yes. I have a question for Murray or Paul or John or whoever. If you could get, would it be feasible to get some donated time from contractors? Would that help alleviate things if that was possible? Or not? Or you need to go through a contract, hire somebody and do it that way?
You know, Tim, back in the old days, the veterans of the American Legion used to do it all themselves.
Right.
And but I don't think that's possible these days.
Okay.
The veterans actually moved this. The World War I veterans didn't have a hall, and so but there was this vacant school across the Sanford Road. So they acquired the property and they managed to physically get the school building across the road to its existing location, and then they jacked it up a floor because it was a one-room schoolhouse. They jacked it up a floor to the two-floor building that we have today, and that was all done in the 1930s, and it was done by veterans of the American Legion.
Okay.
But those days are gone, I think.
Well,
Those days are gone because they're not capable
Uh-oh, we lost him.
Whoops.
Maury, there are people out there who do volunteer. We've had a lot of volunteer work, electricians and so forth who are, you know, specialized or who will do this.
Yes, well, actually,
Well,
Diamond,
but they wouldn't be members necessarily of the American Legion.
we have students from Diamond doing work on, you know, various projects.
Yeah,
My issue with something like this to get volunteers, if it breaks in the future, you can't keep going back to the volunteers. But if you pay
Yeah.
somebody to do it and it breaks, you got a warranty on it and you can call them to
There
come
you go.
fix it.
Okay. Makes sense, John.
I think it depends on the type of project there is. As I said, gravestone cleaning's one thing, but electric system's another.
Right. Okay. No problem.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you very much.
okay, bye, folks. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Understand.
So number 7.
7.
As I said, grant agreements, there are 4 out of 5 who are ready, but we're not quite ready. And I'm wondering if I could receive authority to sign documents that are agreeable to the town and to the project managers. I'm asking for authorities to sign those once they're done before and not bring them back to CPC for you all to read.
I'll move that forward, John Bell.
And I'll second that.
I'll second that. Yeah.
Oops.
Whoever seconded it. Is there any discussion?
Nope.
Okay.
Would it be better to make the motion where the chairman can sign it?
Yeah,
So
I
that
think
way,
Okay,
if-
good.
that's the motion,
Yes.
right.
The chair can, who made the motion?
I made the motion, so I'm going to amend it to the chair.
Okay, that the chair is able to sign it once there's approval of the town and the project managers. Okay, so the vote. Deborah,
Deborah Chialfi, aye.
Dale,
Dale Weber, aye.
John,
John Bell, aye.
Mark,
Mark Schmidt, aye.
Hugh,
Hugh Morton, aye.
Tim Caton,
Tim Caton, aye.
Betty Slade, aye, for the future chair. All right, that passes. Okay, so we've talked about this around a little bit, and around this is form a committee to review the existing project proposal form for CPA projects. I have looked at, for example, Dartmouth and other towns. You know, we are not Lexington, so who has 40 projects a year and who has a, you know, and under CPA regulations, you can have an administrator of the CPA. They hire administrators from 50 to 100,000. We don't do that because it's basically our liaisons, the chair, vice chair, and Maria, our clerk, does that work. But I think that we need to tighten things up. And I would like for anyone who's interested in being involved in that to let me know. It could be as many people as we want. And if anybody would like to do that. So do I have any volunteers for a committee?
Betty, I volunteer to be on that with you, to try to streamline.
All right.
Are you suggesting we use this, construction contracts grid to come up with a template?
No.
No. Okay.
I'm not quite sure why that's in there. I'm sure I'd suggested it. This is the, what this is here is the requirements by the procurement requirements by the state. And the procurement officer is Jim Hartnett, or our town manager, our town administrator. We, to date, and we may change this, but to date, If it's a town project, it has to follow all of the regulations. If it's a private project, we ask to follow the amounts of money. So if it's over 50,000, we want an RFP, but there's no prevailing wages. Okay, but we do distribute it around the state and so forth, just like the others, if it's over 50,000. So you can see the various columns that talks about how the projects have to be done, whether there's just 3 bids and so forth. And we can write that down, Deborah and others. We can write all that down to be clear and think about it a little bit more. So far, this has worked well to adhere, for example, the very large project like 350,000. It's really important that we do everything necessary, even if it doesn't have to have prevailing wages. Okay. So yes, this material here is just for your interest. It's not related to the new form necessarily. And what other stuff is on here? I haven't looked at. So we can go past that. Let's go past that, Deborah. Is there any more? Yeah, go on.
It's the last page.
Yeah, and the next page is.
This is now supplies and services.
Yeah, and keep on going. Okay, so this is the existing application form. It's been tweaked, but it has not been overhauled for years and years and years.
Where did that one come
It came
from?
from, I inherited it in 2008. It came from the original, but we added on quite a bit, like this part here, the CPA approval and all of that we added on, but the parts 2, parts 3, parts 4, we tell people to go to the website, and we had a lot of the information on the website. Okay. So other than Deborah, can I get, maybe we can consult with, we can, Deborah and I, and maybe Dale, will you consider being on this?
Sure,
Dale?
sure. Okay.
And then we
If
can,
I'm not sure what I have to offer. I don't know, but yeah, sure.
Well, I think we're all trying to come up with something together, so we
Right.
can
yeah.
discuss it and see
Okay.
what we can come up with.
And
Good.
if anybody has any suggestions of what you think are weaknesses, if you look at the town website, the web page, and see is enough there, would it be enough to add information to that and connect it to the application, and then put that into the grant agreement? So these are the things we need to think about. Tim?
Yeah, Betty, question. When these jobs are getting money from these projects, I should say, getting money from the CPA, do you make any is there any requirements that you try to find local contractors?
There are no requirements, but it's almost always local contractors.
Okay, that's beautiful.
We're local in the sense that around Rhode Island, the perimeter, we have had people from, if it is a very specialized thing, like when we put the new slate roof on the town hall, we brought in someone who is a specialist in that, because that helps a lot. I mean, he didn't do the project. He advised us on the project. It was an expensive project at the time, slate roofs. I don't remember having anybody from Boston or
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was somebody
always here in
from Westport or the surrounding towns.
Right, unless it's a real specialized. One project, we had the school in Boston, 28th Street. What is it called? The 28th Street School, I think. Who were they teach jewelry making, locks. We had the locksmith come down
Yeah.
And he was, we had bids of hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix the vaults. And he came down and did it for 1,500.
Wow.
Patty, I just offered North Bennett Street School is exquisite in various things.
Yeah,
I'll catch your
North
eye.
Bennett Street School was the name of it, yeah. So we've had them once come down, but almost always local. And we
Mhm.
prefer that, of course, but it isn't
Right.
required.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. So the next is a sweep remaining Westport United Youth Soccer Funds. Fernando Larguina is the project manager. These were two very old projects to put in electrical systems and a well. They're completed and he had 8,000 left over. And when that happens, we have them fill out a form, which you will see. He fills out the form saying that he says that he doesn't need any more funds. We started this form a few years ago, and we actually voted to sweep something and the project manager wasn't ready for it. So that happened just one time and we were able to get it back. But now we have that form so I'm asking for approval to sweep those funds. May I have a motion?
So
Yeah,
moved,
Patty.
Hugh Morton.
I'll second that, John Bell. And this project took a long time. A lot of it was because of COVID.
Yes, and the electrical part of it, it was 2 years before they gave him a bill.
Yeah.
Couldn't
Oh.
get a bill out of them. Just couldn't get a bill. By the way, Fernando was just honored at the legislature for his contributions to Westport. He's been the head of this youth soccer and very successful. I don't know how long, 20 years? I mean, an amazing guy to work with, Fernando Larguina. I don't think he'll be coming back to CPC anytime soon. They seem to be doing fine. So the next is the approval of minutes of the January.
Well, you didn't take a vote
We
yet
didn't vote on
to,
it yet.
Okay, we have a motion. Thank you. And a second. Deborah,
Deborah Chialfi, aye.
Dale,
Dale Weber, aye.
John,
John Bell, aye.
Mark,
Mark Schmidt, aye.
Hugh,
Hugh Morton, aye.
Tim Caton,
Tim Caton, aye.
Betty Slade, aye. That's unanimous. So Maria will have those monies swept. And those monies go back into the category from which they came out of. So that was recreation. It'll go back into recreation.
Open space. It says open space.
Yeah.
Do they need to?
They're both.
Okay, but
They're
they put
together.
open space on the form. Okay,
That's right. It is the open space committee.
okay.
You're right. I shouldn't just say recreation. It goes back into open space and for recreation, but we don't specify recreation. You're correct. Okay, number 10, approval of the minutes of January 9th. I hope everybody's read them. And do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Tim Caton.
Tim Caton. Do I have
Dale
a
Weber, second.
Dale Weber?
Yep. Second.
Second, okay. Is there any comments, any corrections? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Deborah,
Deborah Chialfi, aye.
Dale,
Dale Weber, aye.
John,
John Bell, aye.
Mark,
Mark Schmidt, aye.
Hugh,
Hugh Morton, aye.
Tim,
Tim Caton, aye.
Betty Slade, aye. That's a unanimous. Okay, the bills paid. Must be in the back. All right, so these are the bills that have been approved since our last meeting. So for the Sanford School, it's a total of 84,888, which we approved. That went through an RFP. So anything with them went through an RFP. My question to you, or should I read through the whole list and you put a hold on one if you don't like it? Otherwise, we'll approve them all at once. Okay, is that all right?
Fine.
Yes, a good idea.
Okay, so 84,888. That's for the Santon School. The annex gym is it the FY15 project, 5,400. The Granite City Electric Supply Company is 52006. That's the Sanford School. The purchase of the scanner was approved at last meeting for 500, but it only came to 398.99. It's presently being used by the Grange to scan records. The American Legion, again, that's the Sanford School. Light fixtures purchased by Tony Vieira for the Sanford School as part of the rehabilitation, $202.44. The balance due for the annex playground, $110,994.86. The Atlas Preservation, that's historic gravestone restoration. Atlas Preservation gives supplies for the work, the special supplies that they need. $150.32. The Reynolds Electric, finally the bill came in for the WUIS, that's $17,541.33, and we swept the rest. The cemetery website, the down payment is $17,375. And again, at preservation is $331.41. Do I have a motion? Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions? Okay. Move back to Morton.
Betty?
Yes,
Sorry. Just on the, so what is what point is this website for the cemeteries what point of completion is it? How far are they? How much more do you have to do?
Jim addressed this on the June 2nd, Jim Hartnett, Board of Selectmen, Select Board meeting. And all of the administrative part of it is up and running. And as I said, we've had 3 training sessions. The historic part of it is not up and running. And that's why we're meeting with him to find out what is going on. But it should be out quite soon. I hope so. Okay.
Yeah, is there a maximum number that they gave or a fixed fee?
30,000.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
All right, anything else? Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and we will, who am I calling? Deborah?
Deborah Chialfi, aye.
Dale?
Dale Weber, aye.
John?
John Bell, aye.
Mark?
Mark Schmidt, aye.
Hugh?
Hugh Morton, aye.
Tim Caton?
Tim Caton, aye.
Betty Slade, aye. That's unanimous. I don't have any correspondence. Is there any new business that's just come up? No. The next meeting is July 10th, probably. We'll let you know. There may not be a meeting. We may not need to have a meeting. We'll see. This little committee meets. This committee can meet because it's less than a quorum of the, and what I understand, it doesn't have to post minutes and all of that stuff. I'm going to check on that. But it's Deborah and Dale and I, and we will contact others. And is there anything else? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Who is that? John Bell,
Tim
Tim Clayton, second.
Dale, will second. Dale Weber. will second.
Okay, any comments? No, so Deborah,
Deborah Chialfi, aye.
Dale,
Dale Weber, aye.
John,
John Bell, aye.
Mark. Mark, maybe he left.
Sorry, yeah, sorry, Mark Schmidt, aye, thank you. Betty.
Hugh,
Hugh Morton, aye.
Tim Caton,
Kate and I,
Betty Slade. Aye, that's unanimous. Thank you very much.